This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is the third session of 10-day online FDP program. For this session, we're having the resource person, Dr. Ravindra Hegde, sir. Today's session is on big data and predictive analysis. Let me speak few words about the speaker. First of all, I have completed my PhD under the guidance of Ravindra Hegde, sir. Ravindra Hegde, sir, is a IEEE senior member, completed MCA in the year 1995, MPhil in the year 2003, and PhD in the year 2007 from Gulbarga University, Kalburgi. Sir worked as an assistant professor at Karnataka University, Dharwad from July 2008 to January 2012, as an associate professor from February 2012 to January 2015, and as a professor from February 2015 to January 2020 in Solapur University, Solapur. He joined the Central University of Karnataka on 30th January 2020 as an associate professor in computer science. Sir has published more than 150 research articles in reputed international journals and conference postings. Sir authored 2 books, edited 3 books, 30 book chapters, and 1 patent is published by him. He has guided 15 MPhil students and 10 PhD scholars, and currently 4 PhD scholars are working under his guidance. Sir has completed 1 UGC major research project worth of 9.71 lakhs, and currently he has 2 research projects from Ministry of Electronics and IT, New Delhi, each worth of 50.06 lakhs. Sir has visited Hong Kong, Sydney, Australia, Florida, and Dhaka for presenting his papers in international conferences, and Malta in 2019 for inter-university collaboration. He has delivered 42 keynote speeches, invited talks at national and international conferences or symposia. Sir has organized many workshops and conferences and collaborations with 3 national and international institutions. Thank you, sir. We welcome you for our online faculty development program for today's session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Hallur, for my introduction. I would like to also thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to deliver a talk in this FDP. Now I will share my screen. Today I am going to deliver the talk on the big data sets and predictive analysis. Okay. As we know that the data, huge amount of data is being generated nowadays, and this data for any, if suppose for example if you take any organization, so related to that organization, the data from so many years is being generated. Am I audible now? And this data, huge amount of data is being collected in the organization. Okay, I will switch off my camera because that may take another some more bandwidth. So this data, the data that is being generated, huge amount of data, it has certain property, like it is a basically asset for that organization. Because nowadays people are thinking, the organizations are thinking, you are hearing from so many medias and all, that our data is being sold in the gray market and all, that is being sold to some dollars, few dollars, something like that. Actually, the data what is being collected by social media also carries a very huge amount, it carries a very huge value, because this data is being used for so many other purposes by many businesses, and those business organizations take benefit out of it. They do proper planning, marketing, they use our data, and they try to improve their business by understanding the content of the data. So how understanding content happens? It is because of the analysis. That is the big data, whatever they get, they use that for doing some predictions and analysis, and that itself we call it as predictive analysis. So today we are going to, with an example, we will look at an example. With that example, we will see what is basically the predictive analysis. What is basically predictive analytics? We know all about the big data. It is a collection of very huge amount of data from so many years of business. And using this, how people can do predictions. What is basically predictive analytics, how predictive analytics is carried out, and how it benefits the organization, that we are going to discuss today. So for that, we will take one example of the how predictive analytics has been used in climate change. So we all know that climate change is one of the very big issues around the globe. Many countries are conducting conferences, conducting summits to discuss about the climate change and what action need to be taken to improve the climate environment. So because of the change in the climate, we are all under risk because of the carbon emissions, because of the loss of forest, because of the loss of glacier in our poles. We are under the risk, because if this continues at the pace what it is happening earlier, if that continues, within few years we will be in very big risk. We will face lot of natural calamities, and our earth will be in very big risk. And from last few years, the data which are being collected from so many years through manual system, through some computerized system, through satellites, from so many years, maybe 100 years, 150 years, this data is being compiled, and it has been analyzed by the data analytics scientists, and they came out with certain predictions that if this going to continue, it is really a big risk for the earth. And based on that, many countries have taken the actions such as cutting down their carbon emissions, then growing the forest, then preserving the glaciers. So such kind of actions are being taken by many of the countries. So if we look at the carbon emission, the rise of carbon dioxide in Earth's atmosphere corresponds to the warmer planet and rising sea levels. So if carbon emission continues to increase, then the earth temperature will increase. That is, earth will become more and more warmer, and due to the warmness, our glacier will get melted, and that leads to the rise in water level. And because of that, few years ago, people used to say that the coastal cities, particularly in India, Mumbai, Calcutta, all these coastal cities may get submerged. And if we look at certain years, maybe 10 years, 15 years data, or maybe 20, 30 years data, already the coastline has come up. That has water at the coastline has come up. That is, some part of Earth has already been submerged in the ocean. So these are very cautioning problems, and we have to act on this. And the big data and predictive analytics has done a lot of effect. It has done a very big impact on the preserving our climate and preserving our natural resources and improving the quality of the earth. Now let us look at how, if we didn't had big data analytics, that is big data and predictive analytics, what kind of impact that could have happened over the climate. So the calculation on how much carbon emission need to be cut across the world. Nowadays, globally, many countries do summits, and in that summit, they discuss on how much carbon cut down should happen. That means the industries emit carbon, the vehicles emit carbon, and they fix target, country-wise target, and accordingly the carbon cut down is happening. This won't have happened if we didn't had the big data and predictive analytics. So this is only possible because of the predictive analytics using the data whatever they had. So inadequate emission cut means rising global warming, illness, and other problems. If we don't take action using the predictive analytics, whatever we have done, then that may cause the global warming, and it may cause the diseases to the common people and many other problems, as I was discussing earlier. So we also know that the glacier is continuously melting at a very high speed, and if that continues to melt at the same speed, then we will no more have any glacier in our poles. And that can, the glacier melts, when glacier melts, it converts into water, and definitely the sea level will go up, and it is a big risk for the coastal area, that is people residing in the coastal areas as well as the cities which are around the coastal area. Then the environmental challenges are also, many environmental challenges also can occur because of the because if we don't follow the data or whatever the analysis that is being given by predictive analytics. So environmental changes and ecological imbalance across the world can also happen. So this leads to a lot of disasters. So we can see nowadays, we can see many floods, cyclones, these things are happening. It is all because of the change in the environment that is happening at a rapid speed. So it is important to be able to compare and track environmental and ecological changes over the time with the data. So we can use this data and we can track and we can take action so that we can preserve the environment, and we can use that data, we can preserve and improve our earth. So impact of big data and predictive analytics on climate change policies. So as I told you, globally many conferences, summits happen across big countries. The big countries, I'm not talking about the small countries. World level big countries conduct such kind of summits, and they discuss and they do fix the quota for carbon emission. How it is possible? It is possible only because of the big data and predictive analytics. So policies and strategies aimed at climate change phenomena have been significantly influenced by the big data and predictive analytics. So both government and non-government government organizations and non-government companies have been developing trend-setting tools and technologies that help formulate advanced climate change actions. So they are taking so many actions. Like for example, nowadays we can see the electrical vehicle trend has come out. Okay, we government are doing, our Indian government itself was planning to fix 2032 as the deadline for removing all the diesel and petrol, that is fossil fuel vehicles. Okay, but somehow they may not be able to fix, I think. But anyway, one or the other day, that day will come where all vehicles will be converted into electrical vehicles, electric vehicles. That will be a big impact on the emission through the mobile vehicles. So then these tools and technologies are based on big data. So whatever the information we get through the predictive analytics, based on that, the policy of the country itself will change. So when government of India has taken such a decision, it is not just blindly they have taken the decision. It is because it is based on whatever the policy that they have adopted for preserving the climate. So enormous volume of data on temperature change, sea levels, forest cover, and carbon emissions are collected every moment and analyzed. So across the globe, the information regarding the change in the temperature and sea level variation, then also forest cover and carbon emission, these all informations are being continuously collected, and this information is analyzed over a period of very long time, and based on that, the results whatever we get, they help in framing the policy. So these tools can establish the correlation between different variables, provide actionable insights, predictions, and patterns based on which proactive actions or precautions can be taken. So basically, these all kind of informations are being used to convert. These informations are converted into actions. Okay, whatever the information they process and whatever the predictions they get, they are converted into actions. So if such and such actions are taken, then what will be the prediction? What will happen after 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year? So this kind of policy decisions are possible only through the big data and predictive analytics. So there are certain tools which are very famous. We have many tools, but few of them we are going to have a glance, and what basically they provide, what kind of service they provide. Let us look at them. So one tool we have regarding the climate change analysis is Surging Seas. So this tool basically, it's a interactive map and tool developed by Climate Central, which is a non-profit organization, and it is a independent organization also. So basically this provides the information on raising sea level. Okay, the variation in the sea level, it will be analyzed by this Surging Seas. It is basically developed to watch over the sea coastlines, and it has the features like accurate sea levels at different places. It computes the accurate sea levels at different places. It also look at the flood warning it provides, and it also tells what the action should be taken, either to prevent or once it occurs, how to minimize the loss. And also it looks at the sea level patterns. It also uses the historical data for analysis purpose, and many other things, many other facilities are available in this tool named as Surging Sea. Then we have very popular tool by Google Earth known as Google Earth Engine. So Google is collecting information from across the world from so many years. It has a very huge data, and this data it uses to compare and provide the analytical information. So it compares the state of environment across the years or decades, because it has such a huge amount of problem, and it identifies problems, and it also gives us the solutions, that is how to fix such kind of problems. If we look at one such example of a lake in Iran, Urmia Lake in Iran. When the Urmia Lake image was captured in 1984, its color was pale blue. And after a few years, they captured and analyzed the same location, and it found that the color changed to green. But in 2012, the color has become brown. Okay, so these changes it will analyze, and it will tell what is the reason and how, whether it is a problem, if it is a problematic, how to fix the problem. All that analytical information it provides. It also has a continuous analysis of Amazon forest, where deforestation is happening in the Amazon, that will be tracked. And then the engine compiles publicly available satellite imagery to identify environmental damage across the earth. So Google Earth Engine monitors across the world. It provides the analytical information across the world. So it uses so many satellites that has been fixed by it, and it also uses many years data for performing analysis. Then we have one more tool known as for the climate only, known as data.gov. So it has a huge collection of more than 1,92,289 data sets on array of topics related to climate. So this is the old information. As of now, it must have still gathered more and more data sets. So data sets provide credible update on an array of climate related topics, such as the live feed of earthquake happening across the world. Okay, and then time lapse maps showing changing in temperature in Great Lakes throughout the year. Something like this kind of analysis is being provided by the tool known as data.gov, that is climate tool by data.gov. It must be an American tool. Then we have one more, that is Global Forest Power. So this tool helps track the forest cover across the world. So it is mainly focused on the forest which look at how deforestation and afforestation that is happening across the world. It do tracking of the forest, increase in the size of the forest, decrease in the size of the forest, then even the fire in the forest that generally occur many a times, that also is being monitored by this tool. So this mainly focuses on the changes that are occurring in the forest region. The tool is popular one, and many government organizations such as the Indonesian government and many other private organizations such as Nestle, Unilever, these companies are using this tool for their benefit. Then we have one more tool known as O-Power. So this sends a personalized information. Suppose, for example, I want to have my personal information, my personalized information for my purpose, then I can use this tool. Generally, this like the people use this and they have benefited out of it, and they were able to save so much of electric energy by using this tool. So these are few tools that are very popular. Apart from that, nowadays I think many other tools are available which provide us just on the climate changes. And not only climate change, the tools are also available across different industries. As I told you, this predictive analytics, we can use the big data of any business, okay, any system, and we can perform the predictions. I'm giving you just one example of climate change. So big data and analytics are redefining the climate change policies of the government. So because of the big data analytics, the policy itself, government policy itself are changing. Okay, and nowadays you can see the COVID problem we have, COVID-19, and people are doing predictions. Governments are doing predictions. Government is telling in particular month, now in this month the COVID will be peak in our country, and after that it will reduce, increase. How this is possible? It is because of the predictive analytics. They take the previous data and they do analysis on that. They will study the pattern of other countries, and accordingly they will predict that it will reach, the COVID may reach the peak at certain period, and then it will reduce. So these kind of predictions are happening, and also how to deal best with that, they also being that the solution can also be provided using the predictive analytics. So an indispensable component of climate policy has been the big data and predictive analytics. Big data and predictive analytics have become a part of climate change policy. So whenever they want to do any changes in the climate policy, they will take help of big data and predictive analytics. So it is able to process enormous volume of data, and that too complex climate data. Okay, it is not some data which is being generated with certain parameters. They will collect the climate data, and they have established correlations among these data, and then they provide real-time analytics. Why real-time analytics? Recently we have seen some 2 cyclones affected India, and those governments, the central government has given many warnings, they have given predictions, warnings and all, and whichever government was capable of dealing with the best, they minimize the loss of their property as well as lives. And if this predictive analytics won't have been there, just imagine, we would have lost lakhs of people, life of lakhs of people, and that we have really saved because of predictive analytics. Now I have given you one best example of climate change, how we can use the predictive analytics for climate change policies. Now let us look at what basically predictive analytics, how we use, what are the tools that are being used in the predictive analytics, and all those things we are going to discuss now. So basically this is a branch of advanced analytics used to make predictions about the unknown future events. So what basically we do here, we take the existing data and we do analysis over that data and we perform predictions. Okay, so predictions means it is based on scientific analysis, not like some the astrologer sitting there and looking at some palm, all that, and doing prediction. Here prediction happens based on the data that has been collected, previously available data, and analysis is performed on that, and based on the analysis the predictions are performed over here. So basically it uses many techniques such as data mining, it uses statistical techniques, it performs modeling, it also uses machine learning, and it uses artificial intelligence to make the prediction. So the predictive analytics is not a single branch, it is a submerge of so many branches. Here we use computer science related techniques, we use statistical related techniques, we use mathematical modeling, we use artificial intelligence. So it is a combination of multiple mode of studies. So whatever the pattern we find in the old data, that we call it as a historical data, and the current data, what is known as the transactional data, are used to find the risks as well as opportunities for the future. So suppose a business is running, if the businessman want to find what are the risks he can face, and what opportunities where he can improve his business, then he can use both historical data, whatever the old data he has, and whatever the current transactions currently what he's having, both he can use, and based on that he can perform predictions, he will get the predictions. So if we apply successfully these predictive analytics, definitely business can improve, they can do better business, they can get more benefit. Okay, that it brings basically more benefit, that means it attracts more customers, it improves the business. Okay, so predictive analytics basically help the businesses, and it basically gives information regarding how effectively you can improve your business, so that you can get better profit and you can improve on the customer relations. So it is a combination, as I told you, it is a combination of data mining and text analytics as well as statistics. So when we combine these, that means when I want to do a predictive analytics, I must have the idea about all these tools. Okay, so for that reason only, we will see later in the later stage, many of the universities are providing the postgraduate studies, undergraduate studies on predictive analytics itself. 1 year and 2 year courses are there on predictive analytics itself. Why? Because generally when we see, we will either study computer science, or we will study mathematics, or we will study statistics. But the predictive analytics requires all these streams. They need to study all these streams. So that's why many of the universities are nowadays offering predictive analytics for the students. So basically when we do the predictive analytics, we use two types of data. One is known as structured data, another known as unstructured data. What is this structured data? The structured data such as age, gender, marital status, incomes, sales, etc. are structured data, where we will get a definitive information. Okay, a definitive kind of information, we call that as structured data. Whereas if we express our information in the form of textual data, like today it is very humid, so here we are not giving a structured information, we are expressing the same in the form of some kind of text. Okay, so such kind of expressions, when we want to express something in the form of text and all, we call that as unstructured data. So it is a textual data. In call center notes, somewhere in call centers they use these kind of wordings and all. Then social media contents, or in open text, something like that if we use, and if we want to express, then it is known as unstructured data. So the predictive analytics need sometime both structured as well as unstructured data. Then basically the predictive analytics makes organizations proactive. When you start using predictive analytics, you will get some results out of it, and you are bound to implement them. Okay, so it tells you that if you want to improve your business, then you have to take these and these actions. So you have done the predictive analytics to improve your business, and then definitely you will go for taking such and such actions, so that you want to improve the business. So it helps you to become proactive. Your business, your organization will become proactive, and it will go for forward looking. That means it is ready to invite more and more people and business, and then it also anticipates outcomes. That means whatever the action they take, based on that, the organization will also get certain outcome, and that's how then again the same data can be used to further improve. It's a kind of life cycle. We will see that in the later stage, how actually predictive analytics are being performed. Now let us look at what are the types of predictive analytics. Basically there are three types of predictive analytics, that is predictive models, descriptive models, and decision models. So these are the three types of predictive analytics. So let us look at each one in detail. What is predictive model? So the objective of the predictive model is to assess the likelihood that a similar unit in a different sample will exhibit the same specific performance. Suppose, for example, you have a business model which is performing very well, and what you try to do is, suppose for example, you and your friend have started two independent businesses, same business, but they are independent, and your friend is performing well and your performance is poor. Then definitely what you will think, you will look at how he is performing well, what are the parameters he is using, how he is doing marketing, how he is attracting people, how he is doing the business well. So you will adopt such parameters. Okay, you will try to compare your business with him, and you will try to improve based on whatever the changes that is happening, whatever the parameters he is adopting, and accordingly you will try to improve yourself. So this is one kind of one category under the predictive model. So basically here, perform calculations during the live transaction. So performance of your business are done during the live transaction, that is when your transaction is happening currently. During that time only the predictions also happen over here. For example, to evaluate the risk of opportunities of a given customer or transaction to guide a decision. So based on current transactions, how we can perform the decision, that basically happens under this model. So with advancements in computing speed, individual agent modeling systems have become capable of simulating human behavior or reactions to given stimuli or scenarios. So when you want to predict the existing data or current transaction data, definitely you must have a high speed computing. So it requires currently we are all aware that our computer systems are very high speed. They perform very well with nowadays we can get a high-end software as well as hardware combination, which definitely help us in performing such a predictive analytics. The second type of predictive analytics is descriptive models. So unlike the predictive models that focus on predicting a single customer behavior such as credit risk, the descriptive models identify many different relationships between customers or products. So the predictive model focuses on single customer, and it checks how the customer is potential for the organization, whether it is a potential or not potential, and how to handle such kind of customer. Whereas descriptive model is a model which works on the many customers, that is it works on the entire customer segment. And here basically the descriptive models identify many different relations. So it identifies the relationship among the customer parameters as a customer as well as products. Okay, which customer is attracted towards which kind of products. Generally we have seen that public behavior is different. Some people only like very branded products, okay, but some people will not think on the brand but will look at the quality, but some people will look at the cost. Okay, and some people there are some people who have in their mind that they always want to purchase high cost products. So like that, different people have different kind of mentality. So that kind of mentality has been dealt in the descriptive model. So it does not rank order customers by their likelihood of taking a particular action the way predictive models do. Then the third category what we have is the decision models. So decision models describe the relationship between all elements of decision. The known data, that is including the results of predictive models, the decision, and forecast results of the decision. So decision models basically use our data and the predictive model, the whatever the decisions that have been taken based on that, and what forecasts we are getting, all these are being used in the decision models. So in order to predict the results of decision involving many variables, so these kind of information, these kind of parameters are used in the decision models. So these models can be used in optimization problems. So optimization means basically either maximization or minimization problems. Suppose, for example, we want to maximize our sales, then it is a maximization problem. It is one of the optimization problem, that is the maximization problem. Suppose we want to minimize the cost of our business, okay, cost, that expenditure, overhead, what we call, if we want to minimize the overhead of our business, then that is also an optimization problem, but that comes in the minimization problem. So such kind of these three kind of categorizations we have seen in the predictive analytics. Now actually, how actually predictive analytics happens, let us look at it, how basically predictive analytics happens. So predictive analytics has basically 4 phases. So we have a very huge data maybe let us consider that this data we have maybe around 50 years data. Earlier our business, let us assume that our business is 100 years old and we want to use around 50 years data for improving my business, that is I want to perform predictive analytics on that. And if you look at 50 years means definitely before 50 years having a computer was not even be a possible scenario. So at that time the data may be in manual systems, in the books and all, so we collect that data also. Then we had somewhere around 20, 25, 30 years back, computer came into businesses, and during that we used to use small software, not even software, just for something like data processing tools, text tools. Then there was one tool called as Lotus, I don't know how many of you remember. So such tools we used to use, and we used to process the data. So that data also will be there with the business. Then later we came across certain DOS based software tools, so that data is also available. We call all these kind of data as a legacy data. And then currently sophisticated hardware and software combinations are available for our data processing. So these all in combined will become a single data. We can't say only the existing data as a data. The old data also is very much useful for performing predictive analytics. So we have to take all these data and we have to build a data warehouse. Okay, so data warehouse again is a different technology. How to build a data warehouse, what all we have to do, all that is a different topic altogether. So that data can be used for predictive analytics. So such kind of data is very much essential for performing predictive analytics. So this data, from this data we can extract the reports, and we will perform analysis. So that is what was happening, what happened earlier. Okay, so it's a old information, so that gives us the information on what was happening. How much was our business 20 years back, 30 years back? What was our business 10 years back? Okay, so we look back into the old data, we analyze the reports, we take the reports and analyze. So that is the first stage what we do, and we use this data for current business. Okay, and how the old data has affected my current business, that also we will monitor. So based on the old data and based on the current business data, we can do the predictive analytics. That means we perform predictions for the future. So basically for doing the predictive analytics, we not only use the old data, we also use the current business data. So the current business data, we can raise the question, what is happening now? But whereas when we perform the predictive analytics, what is going to happen in the future, for that we are going to find answer. Okay, and again this data becomes our legacy data. Again we can use this data again to improve. It is a cycle basically. you can see there is a action. Action means basically it helps in again improving the business. So predictive analytics is a kind of the cyclic kind of it is a cycle. It is never ending process. So we have to keep on doing this and to improve our business. So now the how actually predictive analytics process involves. So suppose for example a organization want to use the predictive analytics. Basically what are the steps or what are the stages that are involved in the predictive analytics? So the first stage that involves is you have to define a project for conducting the predictive analytics. So suppose for example you have a business, you want to perform predictive analytics for your business, or a industry is there, or any social organization is there, anything it may be. As I was telling the example, current example of the coronavirus. So here also when we want to do any predictive analytics on the growth of coronavirus, its period, its peak, its end, and its reoccurrence, anything I want to do a study, I want to do a predictive analytics, then I have to define first the project. Okay, this project I have to define. So here defining project out, here we have to define what are the outcomes, expected outcomes of my project, what will be the deliverables over here, or the scoping of effect, then business objectives, identify data sets to be used. So without data, any project, any predictive analytics projects can't be defined. So data is very much essential. So we must have all these. So first step is to define our project. So once we define our project, we are planning to collect some data. We must have identified during the definition of project itself, we must have identified the data, source of data. So collecting data must happen in the next stage. So here data mining for predictive analytics prepares data from multiple sources for analysis. So suppose let us take the COVID-19 as one of the project. Then we have to suppose, for example, if I want to perform this for India only, then we have to collect the information from all cities across the India, all states, all cities, all, even at the village levels, we have to collect the data. So collection of data, it should be temporal data. It should be temporal. That means during that period, how much were the cases, how much were the confirmed cases, how much were the cured cases, how much were the death. So this kind of temporal data we have to collect for performing analysis. So once the data is being collected, then we can perform analysis. So basically here the process of analysis involves inspecting the data, looking at the data. We have to perform cleaning and transformations. Why? Because this data contains so much unwanted information. Also we have to clean such unwanted information, we have to remove, and then the data may be in different form. Some people may have given you information in the form of PDF files, somebody have given you in the form of database files, somebody would have given you in the text form. So we have to transform into a single database system, and then we have to apply the modeling of this data. We have to perform the modeling of this data with the objective of discovering useful information and arriving at a conclusion. So we have to perform this data analysis process over here. Then for that we have to use statistical methods, such as the statistical analysis enables to validate the assumptions, hypotheses, and test them using the standard statistical. So basically the statistical tools are used to perform assumptions and to create the hypothesis, and then use them to test the hypothesis using the statistical model. Then next step is modeling. So under the modeling, the predictive modeling provides ability to automatically create accurate predictive models and future about the future. So modeling basically gives us the future information. So we have used data, we have performed statistical analysis, then based on this we will get what action we have to take. That itself is the modeling. Okay, it tells us you have to take such and such action to effectively contain your virus and to reduce the virus effect across the population. So this modeling is being provided after the statistical analysis. So we have to use this model to deploy in the system, because we have to deploy. Simply if we have prediction, then using prediction we can't sit. We have to deploy it. We have to take the action on that. So deployment basically provides option to deploy analytical results into daily decision making process to get results, reports, and output by automating decision based on modeling. So we have to deploy in the system so that we will be able to get the results out of it. Only after deployment we will get the fruits of the predictive analytics. Now sometime what happens, whatever the predictive analytics that you may have done, somewhere it may fail. So there is also so for that we have to do monitoring, whether it fails, whether it performs, whether it overperforms, whether it underperforms. So this monitoring is required so that if we properly monitor it, then there is a scope for improve. So that also is one of the stages in the predictive analytics, that is model monitoring. So models are managed and monitored to review the model performance to ensure that it provides expected result. Okay. So when you implement the model in your business, when you implement the model in your study, then you have to monitor it. You have to look whether the model is giving perfect result, whether it is performing well, whether it is giving 100% result, or it is failing somewhere. If it is failing somewhere, why it is failing? Again, you have to analyze. Again, this is basically a cycle. If your model fails, then again you have to repeat this cycle. That's why you can see we have put a circle with an arrow. That means if you get a perfect result, if you are satisfied with the whatever the predictive analytics results you are getting out of your business, then you can be happy. But if you are not getting the result, then again you have to repeat the entire process so as to improve your business. So now let us look at some of the applications where we can use these predictive analytics. So these are some examples. Basically, predictive analytics can be used for any kind of applications. So let us look at one, customer relationship management, that is CRM, what we call. So the predictive analytics is being used by many of the companies to improve their relation, the company relation with the customers. So they use to achieve CRM objectives such as marketing campaigns, then sales and customer services, to improve their marketing campaigns and to perform better sales, as well as to provide a better customer service. The predictive analytics is being used in the CRM sector. Then the healthcare also is being one of the field where predictive analytics is being used. So basically in healthcare, it is used to determine the patients with risk of developing certain conditions such as diabetes, asthma, and other lifetime illness. So when somebody goes to the hospital, the doctor will check up and they will tell you the riskness. Suppose for example your fat is increasing, means they will tell you if you continue the same diet, same kind of lifestyle, after certain years, maybe after 5 years, you will get heart attack, after 10 years you will get such and such disease. So this kind of prediction they give. How it is possible? Because they have experience. Okay, they have experience, such a long experience. That experience they use for performing prediction. So in absence of such a experienced doctor, we can use predictive analytics and to predict the kind of the situation that a patient will face in the near future. Then also clinical DSS incorporate predictive analytics to support medical decision making at a point of care. So even this predictive analytics is used in taking care of patients with the future diseases in the mind. Then collection analytics is another one field. Let us look at it. Predictive analytics applications optimize allocation of collection resources by identifying the effective collection agencies, contact strategies, legal actions in case recovery, and reduce collection cost. Collection means basically banks use this predictive analytics to collect the loan installments. Okay, even the finances can use these predictive analytics to collect the pygmy or the installments that are due by the customers. So they also can use the predictive analytics. Suppose, for example, if some customers are not paying properly, not paying regularly, then they can put more force on them, and they can extract money from more force and make them to pay the regular installments. And if the customer is paying very well, then they need not worry about that. Then we can find in the cross sell also, we can find applications of predictive analytics in cross sell. So basically here predictive analytics applications analyze customer spending. Okay, so how customer spends, usage and other behaviors, leading to efficient cross selling additional products to current customers for an organization that offer multiple products. So this we have generally from so many days, we are looking, from so many years we are looking at it. Suppose, for example, if you purchase a bread, near bread they will keep jam, all these kind of, because if you purchase bread you are more intended to purchase jam also. Okay, so this kind of study we have looked at. So this basically is a cross sell kind of problem. So then in the fraud detection also predictive analytics is extensively used, particularly in the credit card frauds, in the online payment system frauds, in the in all these. Nowadays we are getting so many kind of frauds. Immediately as soon as a government launches a scheme, immediately fraudsters will become alert. Okay, they will work faster than the government, okay, to do some fraud on the public. This kind of things we are seeing, but people are also gradually becoming alert. But still we can see every day in the newspapers and all, so many people losing the money to the fraudsters. So predictive analytics applications can find inaccurate credit applications, fraudulent transactions both done offline and online, identify thefts and false insurance claims. So these kind of things are also happening, and predictive, all these companies, insurance companies, banks, okay, all these companies use predictive analytics to look at the frauds that are happening in their organization, in their transactions basically, and they will try to avoid such kind of frauds. Then this predictive analytics can also be used in risk management. So predictive analytics applications predict the best portfolio to maximize returns in capital asset pricing, model and probabilistic risk assessment to yield the accurate forecast. So in the stock market, in the insurance market, so these kind of markets, predictive analytics being extensively used, so that they want to give better service to customers, better profit to the customers. So for that reason the predictive analytics is being used. Then we have the direct marketing. So in the direct marketing also predictive analytics can be used, where it basically identify the most effective combination of product versions. So if you purchase one product, then you are also intended to purchase, suppose for example you purchase a TV, then you may purchase a TV stand, you may purchase associated products such as stabilizer, something like that. So here basically the associated products marketing, it will help in using the predictive analytics. So these are some of the then we have underwriting, another application, underwriting, where predictive analytics can help underwrite the quantities by predicting the chances of illness, default, bankruptcy. Okay, so basically here also it may be useful in banking and all. Nowadays people are becoming bankrupt and moving away from the country. That trend has increased. So for that purpose, you must have seen Mallya and then Nirav Modi and also many people have fled the country by leaving huge amount of loans in the banks. So for that reason, how to control such kind of events? So for that reason, government is using predictive analytics, and they will monitor who is going to fled from the country, and they will keep a watch on them. Okay, so this is how this predictive analytics also help to watching the people, so that they can catch hold such people, and even the illness, so spread of illness in particular area, in a city or in a place, nowadays COVID, as I was giving the example of the coronavirus disease itself. So here basically it basically this predictive analytics help in analyzing and in looking at what happens in the future and how to avoid such kind of future occurrences. So it can streamline the process of customer acquisition by predicting the future risk behavior of the customer using application level data. So here by predicting we can reduce the risk involved in any kind of business or any kind of social activities. So if we put the entire predictive analytics in a single model, it looks something like this. So here we are collecting some data from different sources. As I was telling, it may be very old data or recent data, something like that. So it will be in this data will be in different forms, different locations, different storage devices and all. So we collect from all this information, and we basically do this contains basically structured as well as unstructured data, and we do perform the data mining over this, and then we perform the text analytics over that. So basically this involves statistical analysis, modeling, and then finally deployment. So this is the entire model of predictive analytics. Then there are certain software predictive analytics software that are currently available in the market. Some may be free also. You can look at which are free and which are which cost to use the predictive analytics softwares. So these are some of the list. So if we look at, I have listed some top 10 predictive analytics software, that is Dataiku DSS. So due to time, I will go a little bit fast because I have to show some more information on the thing. We have left up with only 5 minutes. So there is one software called as Dataiku DSS. Then we have another software called as ABM. Then there is one software Action Analytics platform. And then we have Alpine Chorus software, and then we have Angos Predictive Analytics, and CMSR Data Mining Suite, Data Robot, Data RPM, then GMDH Shell. So these are data way. These are some of the top data analytics software. Then data analytics API are also available, which can be used by any programmers to embed in their projects and all. So let us look at what are the top API. So this is a comprehensive list of the APIs. Then some of the top 10, if we want to list, then Anaconda is there, then APE is there, Datumbox is there, then GraphLab Create, H2O.ai, Inside View, Kneem, then RapidMiner, then Versium Predictive Scores, Yotamine. So these are some of the top 10 analytical data analytics APIs. Then the top 10 master's degree. This is only related to US. It is not being listed for other countries. So top 10 master's program in data analytics in American universities. Many of the Indian universities also have started such data analytics programs. So this is the one comprehensive list. You can see all are American universities, but in India also many of the universities started the master's program in data analytics. You can explore, you can try to find some of the websites and all. You can explore to study the data analytics in different universities. So here are some universities and what kind of courses they are offering. All that details are available over here. So I will just go a little bit fast. I think this is what I wanted to present today. So today I have given you the glance on what is basically predictive analytics, how big data helps in doing predictions, so how we can use the data, how we can perform the predictions. I have taken one example of the climate change, how it is being affected, how it the data analytics affects the climate change policies. Okay, basically climate change policies are being totally being framed due to the big data, that is predictive big data and predictive analytics. And this also influenced many countries to change their policies, such as the carbon emission policy. It may be carbon emission policy and all. And then it also we have looked at what is basically predictive analytics, what are the steps involved in the predictive analytics, what are the different products available for predictive analytics, then how actually predictive analytics has the life cycle. So all these concepts we have discussed along with the top predictive analytics software, API, as well as the predictive analytics courses that are running across many of the American universities. So I would like to thank the organizer for providing me an opportunity to deliver my talk on predictive analytics, big data and predictive analytics. Now, if you have any question, I am ready to answer for that.
I request the participants to ask the questions one by one.
Sir, namaste. This is Venkatesh Kalal from Haveri. Ravindra,
ask.
sir, I have one small question. Sir, how predictive analysis is used in image processing? Sir, please elaborate with examples, sir, please.
Okay, predictive analytics and image processing not much related, because predictive analytics can be used for the results of predictive analytics can be used for image processing. For example, you want to improve your business. For example, you are finding that some of your suppose you have a very big store and you are regularly finding that some thefts are happening. Okay, some thefts are happening.
Yes, sir.
Then what you will do, you will watch all previous data. Okay, you can use the image processing tool, and based on that you can take the decision how to improve, how to avoid the thefts and all. Okay, so it is not exactly related with the image processing. Predictive analytics is basically a data problem, but image processing, it is entirely a different kind of problem. They are not directly interrelated.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Any other questions, please?
Is there any other questions from participant side?
If anybody want to post the question, that also I can take up.
Hegde, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, actually, my question is little different. Assume that the situation, there is no predictive analysis, nothing is there in this world. Maybe some 20 or 30 years back situation I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Suppose in 2021 and all, if you are not using this analysis and all, what else will happen?
Okay, so nowadays, business has become so competitive. If you don't use, then somebody else will be using and they will take benefit of your business. Suppose, for example, nowadays you can see, you just go around some market, whatever the business that were there around 20 years, are they same today also? They have done a lot of changes. Earlier, they used to use manual books to write the business transactions. Nowadays, they are using the computers. They are even using the advanced software. Okay, in that they have analytical tools also. Okay, so if you don't use, then you will no more be there in the market. So market is so competitive. If you don't use, other one will be using, and your customer will move over to them. Okay, so for that reason, predictive analytics, in some sense, many businesses are using. Okay, they may not be using full-fledged, but bigger organizations have a separate department to perform predictive analytics and improve their business. But smaller organizations can't afford it. But whatever the tools they have, they will be using those tools to improve their business. And at certain level, definitely they will be doing predictive analytics. I feel so.
Thank you, sir.
Is there any questions?
Whether
One more
allowing
last
to
question.
produce big data, one question is there.
Yes.
Pradeep Kulkarni has asked whether allowing cookies produce big data. Cookies means basically the website collect cookies from our sites, and they generate their own data, and they can use to improve their website activities or their business activities. Definitely that also lead to a kind of data, and definitely those data will be used by the business and later they use this for predictive analytics. I feel so. Any other questions?
I hope all the questions are answered, sir.
Okay, so somebody, right.
I think there are no questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving a wonderful session on big data and predictive analytics. It was really wonderful and very informative also. So we need your times in the future also. Whenever we required, we'll call you and we'll again ask you to give the sessions on various topics. Thank you. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.